Okay, this is my first attempt at doing a presentation like this, so please bear with me if I seem a little amateur. My grandfather, Angus Fraser, was a tree planter in Scotland. He married the daughter of Benjamin MacDonald, a nurse named Carrie MacDonald. That would be Carrie on the left, with Jessie, the oldest of three daughters, in the middle. They lived in Scotland until the year Jessie turned 12. Her birthday was on board ship on the way to Canada, where they settled on a farm right in the middle of the prairies in Saskatchewan. Jessie and her parents are shown here again. As a young adult, Jessie went to Robertson Business College in Saskatoon, where she met a pilot, Angus Campbell, a partner in M&C Aviation, otherwise known as Mason and Campbell, and she subsequently got married. They had three children, Mary, Julia, and then Donald. Angus Campbell was very well known in his profession, and as a bush pilot made many mercy flights in a time when aircraft were not all that common. In the summertime, they would often be found at Emma Lake in northern Saskatchewan, and one summer Jessie had to learn to play the double bass, which she managed without lessons. By the time Don was 2 years old, Angus had succumbed to malignant hypertension, so Jessie was left alone to provide for her family in the late 1940s. And she moved to Kelowna, BC with her young family, and in 1949 met a land surveyor, E.O. Wood, who sang in the choir with her at First United Church, and soon they were married. In 1951, they were surprised with a pair of twin boys. In those days, I imagine, there was no such thing as ultrasound, especially in a small town like Kelowna, so how would they know? Mary, and before long, Julia, both got married and moved out from the family home, leaving Jessie and E.O., Donald, and the twins. We grew up living on 2 acres of land near the mouth of Mission Creek and had a collie dog named Bing, named after Mr. Crosby. We had a loving family life. There was never a harsh word spoken between them, and attended regularly at First United Church, then at St. Paul's after it was built. In 1966, after subdividing the property, they built a new house next door to the old one, where E.O. always had a large garden. E.O. retired at the age of 85, and Jessie took a job with the Independent Order of Foresters, which she did very well at. One would have to look far and wide to find a happier couple. Jessie being presented with an award in the form of a spoon rack by several members of the local court of the Independent Order of Foresters. And Celine Shod pinning on an orchid. And another award from the Penticton Court of the IOF. Jessie would do a lot of volunteering, from driving shut-ins on scenic drives and providing transportation for patients for the Canadian Arthritis Society. She even took on teaching Vietnamese refugees the English language. Then, without warning, on September 7th, 1976, the day before Jessie's 65th birthday, her beloved husband, E.O., died at home of a massive heart attack. This left her in shock. She was depressed and not very motivated. There was very little enthusiasm, and this carried on for several months. Before Christmas, I arranged to get Gwen Lamont, a renowned local painter, who also knew E.O., to do a life-size portrait of him. And it came as a total surprise to Mother when she opened her eyes to see what we had snuck into the living room and placed on a chair across the room from her. The next step was when her kids all pitched in around $900 to help offset the cost of a trip overseas, so she could see Scotland again. And once she got the travel bug, she took numerous trips to various parts of the world. And at that time, she had been on every Princess cruise ship that was around at that time. It was a good investment, and she never looked back. And it put a new spark in her life. She even took Mary on one of her cruises, which gave Mary a lift that she very badly needed due to her failing health. One of her pet projects after E.O. died was to get the bell that E.O. had acquired for the church before it was built mounted on a bell tower. And within 4 years of his death, this was accomplished. And she was able to unveil the plaque beneath which his ashes had been placed. Another 20 years passed before she was able, with the help of Adrian Boak, to have the necessary hardware installed that would enable the bell to ring on the hour. This is a picture of Clinton and Jane's wedding reception. Their wedding was the last wedding done at St. Paul's before major renovations turned the sanctuary end for end. Bernie, Julia, Carolyn, Chris, Jensen, Orison are shown with the bride and groom, followed by another picture of Chris and Orison. Mother sold her house on Trustwell Road in 1981 and bought a condo in Summerland and took part in many activities, including the Rainbow Singers and various activities at the Summerland Senior Center. While in Summerland, Jessie made a hooked rug of the Last Supper and donated it to the Summerland United Church in memory of E.O. Wood. This had been a year-long project. Reverend Albert Baldeo was a guest speaker there one Sunday and was admiring it. So she asked if he would like one for St. Paul's, which, of course, he replied that he would. So now she had to settle down and make another one. This one only took 9 months, and by the time she was finished, she was again moving back to Kelowna. Here's Mary and Agnes enjoying a good laugh. Here are the 3 Campbell kids, Mary, Dawn, and Julia. Sadly, in the mid-1990s, Julia was diagnosed with melanoma, which started in her eye and spread from there. Mary took her death very hard, reasoning that Julia had always been so focused on good health while Mary had suffered with uncertain health for half her lifetime, and felt it was herself that should have been the first to go. 8 months after Julia, Mary passed away from multiple complications caused by her lupus and its treatment. Jessie and Dawn in her home at Creekside Villa on Keala Road in Kelowna. Here's a picture of Dawn doing some filming. That was one of his professions as a professional photographer. This is Dawn's future wife, Val Rumbo. And some more wedding pictures from Dawn and Val's wedding. It was a really nice service in the United Church in Calgary. Now here's a few pictures of Jessie with some of her outfits. She still had nice clothes, a nice wardrobe, even at this stage of her life. and even a Scottish outfit. Now here's Jessie and 4 of her 5 kids. Dawn was in Calgary at the time, so it wasn't available when this picture was taken. And another picture of Orson with Jessie. Here's a picture of Jessie and Mark Kettler at the Dorchester on Robbie Burns Day. Mark makes her look very short, but Mark is definitely not a short fellow himself, so that would explain that. Here's Jessie and Mark Kettler's daughter Julia at the Dorchester after church one Sunday. This is Jessie and her sister Peggy in front of her wall hangings. Jessie made the one on the right, and Agnes made the one on the left. And so they make a nice pair hanging on the wall. See, we still have them in our home today. Here's Jessie with her son Don at her 90th birthday dinner. And Jessie and her sister Peggy and Peggy's daughter Louise in front of the Dorchester, just about to go out for lunch. Here is one of Jessie's favorite pastimes. In the background is Muriel Hubbard, who actually will be turning 102 this year. She lives at the Dorchester yet. And of course, here's another of Jessie's outfits, especially for St. Patrick's Day at St. Paul's. So anyway, today Jessie is 100 years young and always smiling. Happy birthday, Mother. God bless you always, as He has done for me in so many ways.